What's going on, gang, and welcome back to another episode of Scared of Normal. I'm Mike Murphy, joined by my co-host James 𝙎𝘾𝘼𝙍, and today's guest is a captivating digital storyteller. We're stoked to welcome Tori Powers to the show. Thanks for coming to hang out.
Thank you. That's a cool title that I didn't know I had yet, but I like it.
Dude, add it to the resume.
That's sick.
That one was a good one. I like that when I read that. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
And it's true.
Yeah, it is true.
God. We're off to a good start, everybody. I'm excited about
James
this
is
one.
drunk already.
Basically.
But
yeah.
it's so true, man. Like all the products or projects that you've worked on in the last few years and pretty much since the beginning, I've always enjoyed every single one of them and they've like drawn me in. So yeah, I'm excited to kind of dive into who you are and why you do what you do, man. So before we get too far into it, who do you think Tori Powers is?
Oh my God, what a tough question that is.
What a great
It's my favorite question to ask people because like that's not something that you like, vocalize in your head that often. So
which we should be.
Yeah, we should be.
Yeah, I know. I feel like I've kind of tried to think about this, like not too far in the past. Like I've been thinking about it more and more lately, but I think that I try and see myself through the eyes of other people first, which is not the way that I feel like I should do it. Like I'm always like most of the stuff I made for the past like 10 years was always to like impress other people, but not to impress myself. So I think I kind of dug myself a hole with that one of like, well, who am I to me? That's a really weird question. But I don't know. I guess I see myself as just someone who wants to like show the world what I see through my eyes. And the best way I figured out to do that is with a camera and just the power of modern technology and editing and all that. And so, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm just a regular dude, but I just have like a weird perspective on things. And I just want to like see if people enjoy to see what I see.
I like that. I like that you do have a unique perspective on life and that you have figured out a way to capture that and like display that to other people. Because I think, there are a number of people out there that have like these unique views or whatever, and they just don't know how to like express that. So it's sick that you've figured that out for yourself. That's so cool. Let's get into like where you grew up.
So I'm from Lyons, Colorado, not too far down the road from here. Born and raised just like a little bit outside of town in the foothills. So that's kind of where the whole thing started.
The whole thing.
The whole thing. I don't even know.
Being your life.
Yeah, being my. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Fair enough. I meant more like where like filming and stuff started. Is that too much of a tangent to go there already?
No, not at all.
Let's do this.
All right, sweet. Well, my older brother Sam, we were both playing soccer at the time. We were in I think Sam was probably like early high school. I was still in middle school, and he got a mountain bike, and I remember how cool I thought that was because like we all had bikes growing up, and we had dirt roads, but we didn't ride mountain bikes like a lot of kids these days do. And the access wasn't quite there. Like there were definitely trails around and stuff, but just not as much as there are now, which is a really cool thing. But so yeah, Sam got me on a mountain bike, and I remember like as soon as I rode a bike, I like quit soccer, and like there's the same with Sam. And Sam, like if people who are watching don't know, my brother Sam was like junior X world champ for downhill and for cross the same year, and went pro, and is like an incredible athlete. And just super inspiring, and just to see someone go from like team sports to like this individual sport that's like as individual or as community driven as you want it to be, right? Like you can have people around you or not, it's up to you. It was super inspiring, and I just remember immediately wanting to do what he was doing. And we were like trying to get sponsors when we were like 13 years old, and you guys know how that goes for kids, just like riding jumps and trying to take pictures and stuff. And then
just real quick, sorry to stop this. Let's go off on another tangent because I love tangents.
Please.
Tell me more about the sponsors. Who were you reaching out to try and get sponsored back then?
Oh my God, anybody.
I feel like this is also the era of, I don't remember maybe was it Sponsor House at the time?
Hook It was the one that I was on. Sponsor House was right before Hook It, I think.
And that's like a digital platform where you could like apply for sponsorships, right? Like it was like social media for sponsorships.
Oh dude, so what, you'd like upload a bio or whatever, some clips, some
and there'd
photos.
Be like different brands on there that you could like, they would say like, hey, we're looking almost like for an ambassador, and you would apply for it and give them your resume.
That's kind of dope.
It was
that
super
still
cool.
around now, do you think?
I don't know. It's been a long, I bet it is in some form.
Because I think it rebranded because it was Sponsor House, then it was Hook It, and then I'm pretty sure it changed to something else. But if not, we should reincarnate that, because I
Let's
feel
get
like
that
that's a cool thing for the Groms, dude.
It was, and it was like, it's so accessible, and this was even before social media was really like a thing. Like I remember around when I'd hook it, I was getting like called a girl for having an Instagram. Like all the dudes were like, "That's weird. Why would you want to have Instagram? Like that's for like teenagers and whatever." And so, so yeah, we were on Hook It trying to get like sponsors and stuff, and just taking like the worst photos, like on just like the crappiest backyard jumps and stuff, and like posting.
And you
like,
guys had jumps in your backyard, right?
We did, yeah. My brother and my dad like made some sort of deal. I think it's probably something school related. Like if you do good in school, we'll like get you some dirt. And we got like just the world's worst dirt delivered to our. It was like free dirt, you know, from like a local construction site, but it was like pretty much purely rock. And so we got these like 15 dump trucks of just dirt and rock and made the most like haggard jumps, but they were so fun.
If I remember right, did you guys have a jump over a car? Or
Yeah.
was there a car integrated
There was
in there somewhere?
like a 60s Beetle that didn't run in
That's
our backyard,
right.
and we made there was like a jump that like I think my brother set it up to like nose bonk the top or whatever. But yeah, there was like, it was so cool because we could build whatever we wanted, and that was like our first taste of like, ooh, this is like creative and cool, you know. So yeah,
That's pretty dope.
Yeah.
So well, I'm kind of taken back about the whole Beetle and stuff. So with this stuff, was your predominant you just wanted to ride bikes, or were you interested in taking these crappy pictures and getting better? Or where were you at this time?
Yeah, so I think when I first got into riding, I really wanted to be a professional. Just like I think anybody that like really falls in love with the sport.
Oh, for sure.
And when you're a kid, it seems like very plausible and super likely. And you're like, yeah, I bet you could make a bunch of money being an athlete. Boy, did I learn a lesson there. But it was also just so competitive. There's so many good athletes out there. And even like locally, like as you guys know, where we're from is just like an incredible breeding grounds for just some of the top athletes in the world.
Yeah, from all across multiple disciplines.
Like every discipline.
I'm always
really
kind of taken back and mind blown by the talent that does come out of like this Front Range area. Like it's pretty bizarre.
It is, exactly. And so I think I started realizing really quickly that while I could still be like I could still enjoy riding bikes, I kind of like found this newfound love for taking photos on accident. And I had a lot of friends who were like getting really good really fast. Like one of my friends, DJ Brandt, obviously, kind of grew up riding the same events as him and seeing him around at the local parks and everything. And he was like one of the first people that reached out to me, and he's like, we should make a video. And I was like, dude, that was like the moment where I like realized, I was like, ooh, this might actually be like a big deal. Cause he was kind of like new to the scene and was getting some bigger sponsors and stuff. And so I jumped on that immediately. Obviously I was like, yeah, I just want to help you succeed. And I want to like see what I can do with the camera and see if it's even cool, you know?
How old were you then? Like that specific instance?
I think that was probably like 15 or 16. I feel like my mom dropped me off to film.
And what, like, this was probably around the same time, because there used to be like dirt jump competitions in Lions. Like, I forget, Lions outdoor games maybe is what they were.
Yeah.
So like, is that where you connected with him for the first time, do you think?
It was a combo of things. So like I definitely would see him at outdoor games, but I think ranch style was like the big
I forget
one.
about that one.
Best mountain bike event to have ever existed.
Yeah,
in
that
my
was in Grand
opinion.
Junction, right?
Mhm, just some dude's backyard. It was sweet. He'd made a whole slopestyle course that ended up being on the FMB World Circuit. The best slalom course I think to have ever existed that
No
I've gotten
way.
a chance to ride. The gate was literally like a dude with a hammer hit it and it fell down. Like it was so.
That's how it should be.
So yeah, it was so cool. And so I remember he was like competing in AM, I think, and I'd see him. And then I think it was like Valmont where we connected, like actually we get a chance to like ride together because we weren't really doing like quite the same stuff, and he was a little older than me, so we weren't like directly competing all the time or anything. So it was probably like just the local bike parks, but pretty cool like that kind of place can, you know, create these like really meaningful friendships and
Yeah.
relationships. So
Like a lifelong thing. Like, that's so cool.
yeah.
So I kind of want to like rewind it back and go back to like, you know, you're taking these crappy photos of your brother. Where did you get the camera? Did you like find it in your parents' like cupboard or
Yes.
something? Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. My dad was actually kind of who got me into photography originally. He just did it as like a hobby, but he had like a, you know, relatively decent DSLR back in like what, 08 or 09. So not great
Dude,
by
to
today's
me, that
standards,
sounds like
but
yesterday when you're like, oh, back in '08, '09, I don't know.
Well, what's funny
Years
to me
ago.
about that time period is like I remember you taking those photos because I was riding with your brother all the time because I had jumps at my house.
yeah.
So your brother would always come over and he's like, I need to bring Tori with me because you'll shoot some photos. Like,
I remember always seeing your jumps and being so bummed because I never got to go check those out.
I know
but,
it, man.
yeah.
But I like it's funny like that time frame, like when you were coming up, like starting to shoot photos, he would always talk about bringing you along. And like,
yeah.
I'm bummed that it never connected.
I know. Well, that's funny because I think Sam, my brother, was like one of my biggest fans from the beginning. He was always so stoked for me, just like anything that I was doing. It could have been the most useless thing I was taking a photo of or something, and he would just be like my first hype man. So he definitely was like pretty inspiring to like, push me to keep going and do bigger things and everything. I don't even know. What was the question that we were
where you
talking
got
about?
the camera?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
the camera, yeah.
Yeah, so my dad had like a Nikon DSLR. I don't even like. I think he brought out as like the dad cam. Like he would bring it and like just shoot photos of like us as like family memories kind of thing. He's standing there with his jean shorts and this
The white New Balances on.
yeah, lit him the big camera strap and everything. And so I would steal that and just go shoot pictures because like there were no cell phones that had good quality cameras back then. Like I had like a flip phone at like 14 or 15 or whatever, so you couldn't post
1
those.
megapixel.
Dude, like unlookable. You can't even see what's going on in the photo. So blurry and like low res. And I think like I started out with like just a point and shoot digital camera, one of the ones that like turns on and the lens like zooms out when you turn it on. That was like my first camera. That was like around the same time. And then I stole his camera because I was like, man, we need some better quality than this. Like it's just not doing it. And so that was kind of the first tool of the trade, I guess, that I got to use was that camera.
That's awesome. And were you like, was that mostly just focusing like at the time on photo stuff and not video, correct?
Yeah, exactly. That was purely, I had no idea I liked it when I did this. This was all like, man, maybe this company would give us 20% off their sunglasses. Like if we get like a cool photo, because we all had horrible results. It was like all about the media. We were trying to like look good for the camera. And
you guys were ahead of the curve, man.
Yeah, I guess so. And it worked better for others than me. I'll say that much to get all the sponsors. So I ended up kind of shifting into the photo world a little bit. But I remember getting my own camera finally because my dad kind of picked up on like the fact that I was doing this all the time. And he's like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like maybe for your birthday, you'll get a camera or something. And so he bought me some I got like a Nikon I think it was like a D5100 or something like that for my first camera, and it shot like 720p video. I had this like horrible kit lens, but I was so fired up. It had all these like really dumb modes like sepia and like all these modes I thought were so sick.
Oh, that's funny. 14. It was built into the camera.
Oh, yeah. Filters, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I would use, and like the color selection one that you see like every like new photographer uses, I was like so blown away. I was like, ooh, I can just pick the yellow stripe on my shirt. And I took all these like moody backyard photos with it of me like sitting on a dead tree and stuff. And I was like, this is art, baby. Like, this is what I'm going to be doing. And it did have a video mode though. And I remember, I got to go to Colorado Free Ride Fest when that was like still a thing, or I guess it was Crankworks Colorado before that.
And that was in Winter Park, correct?
In Winter Park.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was like a big deal to get to go up to that event and just like hang out, and you get to see all your like favorite athletes literally walking like right beside you. And like 13, 14-year-old Tori was like losing his mind. And so I brought the camera and I was like, I want to try like the video mode. Maybe I can get like a cool clip or something. And I made like a whole edit. I spent like the whole weekend just like behind the camera, just shooting literally everything at like full speed and like trying to make it slow-mo and stuff. And it was all jittery.
Super
and
choppy.
So bad. But that was like the first video I made was at Crankworks.
That's amazing.
Dude, that's so cool. So back then when, obviously, again, just with the camera, you're picking up photography and whatnot. Did you have influences? Was it through the magazines? Because again, it's like, I know that social media was new around that time. So wasn't sure if you like, where were you getting your influences from?
So, yeah, I think that the biggest influence for me when I was first getting into it was like Clay Porter. Had to have been like
nice.
Just the man. Mainly because back then I was really fired up getting to see like these mountain bike films, because it was kind of still at that turning point of like where I wanted to go, whether it was like focus on the riding or focus on the media side of things. And you got to go to like film premieres all the time. There was a lot more like mountain bike media kind of like in the mainstream because it was so new and cool to see like these, 45 1-hour long movies coming out with all the top athletes. And I would watch like 3-minute gaps and like Earth and stuff just on repeat in like my basement, like on the weekends and like after school and stuff. I just thought it was so cool. And like I said, that was kind of like right before I knew which way I wanted to go, but I was like, the filming's so good, but the riding is so good. And so I think just like getting to watch all that really early mountain bike media got me stoked because the sports were also progressing, or just the sport was progressing really fast at that point too. Like money was starting to get invested into it a lot. A lot of new athletes would keep popping up, and like slope style was new, and downhill racing, like they just got rid of skin suits. And so it was like, there's just so much stuff
just
going on.
So raw at that point.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's sick.
So yeah, I think clay and I think like early anthill and stuff like that was some of my biggest inspo.
That's amazing, dude.
Yeah.
So as you started like growing into this new Tori, you're like thinking, I'm going to start like using a camera. This is maybe replacing a bike for me. Were you looking at upgrading your camera equipment?
Oh yeah. So I started working under the table at this like local coffee shop that my brother worked at, and he would he needed someone to like cover his shift when he was like out racing. So I was like 14 or 15, and I was like, dude, I'll come sweep the floors for like $20 a day. Like that sounds great. And so I was like, yeah, getting paid under the table in cash, working like twice a week. So I wasn't making any money at all, but I would save like every penny I had to get a camera. And so I invested in like a base level Canon and like a 50mm, and I shot with only a 50mm for like 3 years straight.
No way.
Yeah, because it was all I could like afford. Like I was just saving my money from the coffee shop, and I didn't really like I didn't get elevated to the barista position for like a few years.
So you're just the dish dog.
Oh yeah, dude. Promoted. That's the word I was looking for. And so I was just like stuck stocking the coolers and mopping the floors, and like it was great. Like I was thankful to have any sort of work, especially at that age. But it just took forever to like save up and get camera stuff. But that's like all I would spend my money on. I would not buy anything else. It was only camera stuff. So yeah, I used the same camera for like a few years with that 50mm, just at the most open aperture, 1.4.
I was about to ask. Okay,
yeah.
1.4. Yeah. So it's the one with the gold ring around it.
Yeah, like $300.
Oh yeah, dude, nifty 50.
So good. I had that lens until like 2 years ago.
Dude, I found mine. Like I had it and lost it in my van or whatever, or it got somewhere where it got scuffed up and beat up, and I was just like, and then when I just got the R5, which is mirrorless now, I was like, I put that nifty 50 on, and it was just like, oh, this is just dirt.
Just takes you back, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like beat up from being in my van. Oh, I love that van.
Yeah, and
that's so cool.
Yeah, I think every mountain bike photographer filmer just does not know how to treat their gear either, especially
so
at
bad.
that age. So
Dude,
it was just smoked.
Throwing it around.
Yeah.
Well, I remember we were out on a shoot. This is for Zinc's X Games part, and at the same time, Tori was filming something for Cal, and both Tori and I are like walking up the hill, like using our cameras with the 70-200 as walking sticks or whatever. And then, it was JP, wasn't it? He was just like, guys, these are your tools. You got to look after them. This is your livelihood. And both Tori and I are like, nah, it's fine. We'll just
blowing the dust off the lens.
It adds character to the actual thing.
It looked good to me. I was like, whatever. as long as it focuses, it's fine.
Oh, that's so funny, dude.
Yeah.
So like, at what point do you think that you were like, I need to start taking better care of my gear when you were that age? Or do you think you've ever figured that
I was
out?
gonna say,
No.
he still hasn't learned that.
I like keep getting grief from like my friend Wiley always tells people that he doesn't use lens caps because I don't use lens caps. And I'm like, dude, you can't put that on me. Like I use them sometimes.
Oh, that's funny, dude.
So I don't know. I think it's just embedded in my blood at this point to just like, I don't know. It's just kind of like a raw filming mountain bikes. You don't have time for that. You're always in the dirt. Like your stuff's going to get dirty, and you got to kind of, it's just, it's like, it's a tool. You got to accept that.
Well, the lens cap is not going to negate that dust too much at the end of the day, right? Like,
no, especially not when you're like, the camera's on and the bike's coming at you.
You're in the desert and it's windy. Like,
yeah. The camera's going to get hit with dirt. So it's just what you got to go through.
That's amazing.
But, yeah.
So about 14, 15 years old, you get this. Do you remember which Canon it was? See, we've got to not geek out. So you're going to have to stop us from geeking out.
No, I like this part. Yeah.
Oh, I remember T4i.
Ooh.
A Rebel T4i. Yeah.
Okay, so my first one was a T3i, I guess it would have been. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
The only lenses I had were the 50mm and a fisheye.
Oh, that's all you need.
And I was like, this is sick. I got like the skate vibes and the like
there
artsy
you go.
50 vibes.
Get those nice
Oh my
low
gosh,
angle,
yeah.
cool shots.
Yeah, I can go on for hours about that, so I'm going to stop myself. But okay, so we're 14, 15 years old. You got that camera, and yeah, what's next?
Yeah, so that's kind of when my friends that were getting really good at riding were starting to like need videos. They weren't like trying to do it to get sponsors. They were getting asked. And like my friend Alex Willie, he's the first video that I ever made that I got paid to do. It was a downhill video.
I remember that video.
Do you? It was to
Yes.
a Ward song.
Yes,
yeah, dude. It was. You should watch it.
It's funny because
hilarious.
I was
How have
just
you not-
talking to Chase Willie about that exact video.
Sweet.
So
Yeah, that's a good memory. We shot in Idaho Springs in like the winter. It was like January.
because there was snow on the ground in the video,
yeah,
right?
it was so cold. And all I had was that camera. And the like 2 days before, I remember I bought a crane, like one of those like 6-foot jib arms. It was like $250.
I was
and it
about
was
to
like,
ask if it was budget crane. Yeah.
well,
yeah.
budget for a 15-year-old? No, that was like my savings. I was like, oh, I'll spend I was like literally drained my bank account to buy this crane. And all I did for like the entire, and keep in mind, this thing has like counterweights. It's 6 feet long, plus like the big stand it's on. It doesn't adjust. It has to be on flat ground. And so I'm literally just like, I'm dragging this like 60-pound crane like all the way down the mountain. And I would just like put that and the fisheye on it. And I was like, this is sick. This is like the Clay Porter vibe right here. I'm doing it. And the video was so bad, man. I think I got paid like, they were like, you can have $100 or a rear spring for like a Fox, like rear shock. And I was like, well, I don't even have one of those. So I'll take the $100. But I was so fired up. I was like, this is sweet, dude. Like I find like you can get paid to do this.
That's
like,
it.
just
Well,
hang
how
out
old were
and-
you at that time? Do you remember?
I think, yeah, probably like 16 or 17. I think it was like, I want to say junior or senior year of high school.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's what a cool treat that is, right? To like get paid to do something that you're interested in at that young of an age.
Totally.
Like especially before that era of like social media being so integrated in our lives, like it was hard to imagine that being a thing, right? Like
Exactly.
that's pretty freaking sweet.
Yeah, because there weren't really like media athletes back then. He was still like a racer, and first and foremost, that's what he did. And it was just like one random company was like, oh, we have this wheel set coming out. Maybe you can get a video for us. And it just, ended up working out that I did it. But
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Is that video still published anywhere?
oh yeah, I
Good
think so. It's
question.
on Pink Bike. I think
Oh.
all my OG stuff is on Pink Bike. It's
Under
in-
your account, right?
yeah.
So we go to your account, and then we can go back down to the history.
yeah.
Oh,
Gonna have to
I was
track
going to
those
ask
down.
where it lived.
Yeah. Either there or Vimeo was my assumption.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, all my really bad stuff from the early days is on Pink Bike. Like you can see my Crankworks video on there. It's still
Amazing.
up there.
I love
Dude.
that stuff too because you go back and read like the description or like the caption that you had for the video and you're like, dude, what was I thinking?
It's
So
like getting
cringy.
those like Facebook memories of your status like 12 years ago. It's like identical. It's
Yeah,
you're
you're
just like,
just
I
like-
can't believe I used those words.
What I was that person? What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, my Lord. And then, so that was your first gig, and then snowball after that? Or is it being like, what's next? What was the next one that you're proud to tell us about?
Yeah, I think that's kind of when right around there is like when I got to work with DJ. I think was like just after that. It was like my big break as far as like getting to do something really cool. Actually, you know what? It's hard to remember exactly which one. I'd say my biggest big break that I remember at that time frame was freshman year of college. I was still working at the coffee shop. I hadn't really decided like what I wanted to do. I went to school for film, but was like unsure of if it was like the right program. And this guy, 𝙎𝘾𝘼𝙍𝙀𝘿, he's like a professional mountain biker, was coming to Colorado, and my friend 𝙎𝘾𝘼𝑉𝑎𝑛 was shooting photos.
Cade, whoa, that's a name I haven't heard in a long
Right?
time.
I know, I was-
Suspended photography.
Suspended, dude.
Whoa.
Another big inspo for me. Like his photos growing up, I was just like, this is sick. Like I don't know how he's so good. And
Whoa.
so he was just like one of my friends through Alex, because they shot together all the time because Alex was getting kind of big. And so Cade hit me up and he's just like, dude, you want to like try to shoot a video of him? It was for Deity. And I was like, Deity Components? Like this is like a legit company.
Whoa.
And dude, again, it was like no money for like 10 days or 5 days of shooting, however much it was. But I was just like, dude, again, I get to like make money to do this. And so I remember like taking the weekend off of work and like ditching class the next week to go shoot with Braden because I was just like, this is a sick opportunity. Like I can't miss this. And so yeah, we made this video. I think that one's on Pink Bike too. You could probably find it. But yeah, 𝙎𝘾𝘼𝘍𝑎𝑛 So that was like my
That's
first
sick.
like professional level athlete I got to work with. It was like actually kind of established at the time. Yeah.
Wow.
Just kind of kept developing from there. I mean, DJ kept getting like really, really famous. He got like all these big sponsors. So we started working together more. We started shooting for like Mongoose and like, I remember like we got the opportunity to do a team trip in Spain. And I remember my I was like telling my professor, I was like, do you think I can like go do this? It's like a pretty cool opportunity to like go to Spain to film a video. He's like, yeah, but you're going to take a 1 letter grade deduction from your overall letter grade.
Dick.
And I was like, sure. Like,
Yeah.
it sounds good. I don't like
Yeah.
if you're gonna be like that, I'm not even gonna question this.
Kind of professor was he? Like, what was the class that
Dude, it was
for?
my capstone class in advertising school senior year. Like, it was the only one that mattered. And I was just like, you know what? Like, I care less about this than like, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to do Spain to film a video with my friends. Like, I'm definitely going to choose that.
That's
any day of the
crazy.
week.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of stuff for me that always turns me away from like traditional schooling, right? Is like the professor or the teacher who's like, no, dude, like that's not what you should be doing. You should
Yeah.
come to class. And it's like, do you not see the opportunity that's
Yeah,
at
like
hand?
I'm going to make an ad for a company
Yeah.
in a different country. Like, that should be
He should have bumped you
Yeah, I
up a
was gonna
letter
say,
grade.
up a le- So yeah, give
Yeah.
us a rundown on your schooling. Then you've mentioned film school and ad school. So
Yeah.
how did the school go for you?
Yeah, so it was kind of it was crazy all in. So like when I first decided I want to go to film school, obviously it was like senior year of high school. And I remember at graduation when they like read your name and like say what you're doing, like where you're going to school, like it'd be like so and so mechanical engineering at like MIT or whatever it is. And then it was like Tori film at CU Boulder and like no applause. It was
What?
so weird.
Well, I mean, you're coming from like such a small community, which is
Yeah.
Lions. Like that is a pretty like. I mean, it's changed a lot in the last decade since then, right?
Totally.
But like, yeah. I
At
What do
the
you mean the
time,
last decade? That
it's
was
been
like-
almost 10 years.
Yeah.
8 years.
I think it's been 8 years since I
8
graduated
years since you
high
graduated.
school.
which is pretty
my.
like. So think about like how much
Yeah.
like that town has changed. Like, I mean, it was pretty traditional, you know.
Very
So
totally.
I'm sure that's people are like, film. What the fuck
Yeah.
is he gonna do with
Oh,
film?
no
Exactly.
shit. Yeah.
And even like I remember I had like a couple friends tell me, they're like, dude, I don't think that's a very good idea.
Really?
And I was like, I don't know. I hated that. I was just like, you gotta like bring your buddies up. If
Yeah.
anything, like it might be a bad idea. I don't know. I didn't know at the time. I was like, I want to just try it and see what happens. And I only made it like a year into film school before I ended up hating it. It was just like I was kind of working like in film at that point. Like I just started getting those jobs with like Braden and like some of my other friends that were starting to pay me money. And I was like contemplating quitting the coffee shops. I was like, you know what? This is at least like going to help me get through college. So I think I'm kind of learning that side of things. So I met a friend who kind of like convinced me to switch into advertising. And I thought it was a really good idea because I was like, okay, I can get the film experience just doing my own thing and then get the ad experience like traditionally through school and kind of have this like double take on the industry a little bit. So
That's super cool.
Yeah, that's a really cool approach to you. Yeah, that and did it work? I guess so.
I don't know. I still do the
Seems to
same. I still make videos of my friends riding bikes, so I don't know.
That's it,
Maybe
right?
it did.
But how was ad school for you? Like, were you attracted to more of the using videos and stuff for the ad, or was?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I took like every opportunity I could to just like I was like, can I like make a video for this project instead of like the way you want to do it? And they were pretty much always like, yeah, that sounds good. But I don't know. I really liked it. It helped me like really think creatively and think of like, why am I making this video? It's not just to make a video. Like, who's it for? Like, what's the point? What's the brand need? And I kind of got this like really good back end
that's
look of
interesting.
just
You're
like,
kind of
yeah.
looking at how it's being digested by the person on the other end of the phone or
Yeah.
the computer or whatever.
Totally.
Yeah, as opposed to, hey, I just want to go out and make this sick video.
Yeah.
It's like, well, who is
What's it
going to
for?
see this? What's
Yeah.
it
Which
for?
I
What's
feel
the
like
subject?
is
What's the
probably
story?
a good like contrast to what film school is, because film school is probably like just make what you're passionate about. And
the
da-da-da-da.
lighting.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, but why are people going to enjoy this?
exactly.
I want to jump back to you talking about the professor a little bit and
Okay.
saying like that wasn't like a good choice. Like,
Yeah.
At that point in time, how did you make the decision that that was a once in a lifetime opportunity? Like, were there people around you hyping you up and being like, dude, don't be a fucking idiot. Like,
Yeah.
ditch class, come to this thing.
Yeah.
Or was it just like a natural instinct for you?
I think Well, I hated him. He was not a nice person. He was probably my least favorite professor. His name is Glenn. I'll call him out right here.
Oh,
Glenn,
damn,
if you're
Glenn.
watching this, I didn't go into advertising.
Look at me now.
He's one of the only people I don't really like, so I'll be frank about it.
Heck
But
yeah.
he told me that, and I was just like, I was kind of at this point. It was like last semester of senior year of college, so I was trying to decide like, okay, clock's ticking. I got to kind of decide if I want to like get an ad job or if I really want to try filming or whatever. And I think it was like February of that year. And yeah, DJ hit me up to do it. And I was like, dude, I've literally never left the continent. Like, of course I'm going to want to do this. And so I brought it up to him, and I brought it up to all my other professors too. I had like 5 other classes or whatever. And they're all like, oh, that's great. Like, we're not even going to make you make up the work. Like, this is a good opportunity. And I was like, well, thanks. That's awesome. And he was the last person I talked to, and him just being like, no, made me just really want to do it. I was just like, you know what, Glenn, like,
Fuck
kick
you,
rocks,
Glenn.
Of
bud.
course it was Glenn,
Yeah.
dude. Yeah.
Rocks, bud.
Oh yeah. He just really, he didn't do anything that made the kids really want to work on themselves. So I just really was just like, you know what, like, this is the one chance this whole semester I'm going to like get to like go do something for me. So I'm definitely going to do it.
Let me ask you this. Do you think Glenn didn't want you to go because he missed out on a beautiful opportunity like this in his life?
This is what I was about to ask.
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
You think he didn't take the chance that he had, and then he's just like,
And now he's
regretful?
resentful.
Yeah.
And that's why he treats all the kids
I
in
don't
class
know.
the way he does.
That's a good point, but he's
Yeah.
also like, he was a really established dude. Like, he had a bunch of awards in the advertising industry, and I don't know if that's just because like his career went well, but maybe it was just like the same kind of thing. But I don't know. I wasn't gonna miss out on that.
well,
There's
shout
no
out to
way.
Glenn for pushing you
Thanks,
to
Glenn.
make the decision
Yeah.
to just go out and send it, dude.
Yeah,
'Cause-
just to say, fuck you, Glenn. I'm going to go do what I want.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
sometimes those are the kind of people we need in our lives, right? To be like, wait, this guy doesn't know. Like, he
Yeah.
is in a prestigious position, but like he's leading me in the wrong direction. Like,
Well, yeah, and I think too, it's like when you're first starting out, it's weird because at first you want to do it for you, right? Like, you're like, this is fun and it's a passion. But then it's like it clicks and you're like, I got to prove people wrong to say I can't, before you realize that you got to get back to just wanting to do it for yourself. But that was definitely in the era of like, I got to prove people wrong. Because like, same with like my friends who were like, dude, like, you should probably do something that's going to like be a little bit more profitable or whatever. And I was just like, you don't get it. Like, that's never why I wanted to do this.
well, it's
you
hard
know?
to like explain to somebody what your vision is, right? It's very hard. And like where you're at now, it's probably a lot easier for those people to see because you've actualized the vision. And people are like, oh yeah, I always knew you would do great.
Yeah.
However, like when you're explaining that to somebody, like it's hard for them to see it the way you see it. It's hard to like give somebody a detailed look into what's going on in your head.
I know. Yeah, exactly.
So one thing that I'm with you, obviously, from a very young age, you're super hooked. So did you ever go through the imposter syndrome? Yeah.
I still deal with it. I think that's kind of an issue with a lot of creatives. And I think we've talked about this a little bit.
We
just
talk
like
about, yeah.
how
we've
you've
talked about
experienced it and everything.
Yeah.
And oh, definitely. I mean, yeah, just trying, like, first and foremost, trying to prove to yourself that like you're worth the time. Like, it's worth it to you to take the time to do this and not focus on a different career. And like, you know, you'll get these big opportunities and then do it and you won't be proud of it. Like, that happens all the time because I think as a creative, you're always looking for what's next and you don't really take the time to like look around and appreciate the flowers and the smells and stuff.
Sure.
You know, you're just like kind of just trying to hustle and make it happen. And you look back and you're just like, yeah, but like I didn't do that as good as I could have. And like, I don't know. I deal with that all the time.
You're your own biggest critic, so to speak.
Oh yeah.
Which
for sure.
I
But-
think, turns into a grounding thing though. Like if you are being that critical of yourself, sometimes it can hold you back. But in other cases, like it drives your career forward when you're questioning yourself and being like, am I good enough to do this? Like I need to try harder.
Yeah.
And then with your mates, when they were talking about like, are you sure you want to go do this? Are you sure like not make more money? Would that like hit home at all? Or was it more just like, no, you know what? Like you didn't want to be around that negativity. Like how did you deal with the people saying,
Yeah.
get
I
a
guess
real job?
It was kind of both because I did have like a lot of good support. Like crazily enough, both of my parents were like, dude, go do it. Like, well, yeah, like go to school for it. Sure. Like, I don't know. They were like, you like it, so enjoy it. And I think I was like the one person in my family that was kind of doing something different. Like all my family works for my dad still. And that's great. Like they have like a great relationship and like it's really cool that they all work on the same roof and everything. But I think just having that little bit of negativity was just like kind of a push in a way to just be like, I want to to do it. Like I want to prove to not just you guys, but I want to prove to myself that it's possible to like make a career out of it and like actually do what you love to do for work. And but yeah, it does end up leading to the thing of like, I think back to that sometimes and I'm like, I wonder if that guy still thinks that, or if I've changed perspectives in his mind or anything like that, or I don't know, makes you think very critically of yourself still when you're just like, am I still choosing the right path? Like, I don't know. It's hard to just like think about all of your success.
Well, it's hard to like accept the success sometime, right? When you're like, okay, I've done all of these things, but you know where you kind of want to take it. And if you feel like you haven't touched that yet, then you're always still thinking like, do people still think that about me, that I haven't made, did I make the right choice? Like that's hard, dude.
Yeah. And like,
how do you take that when you get critically acclaimed?
By who?
Everybody around this table. Yeah, I always reach out to you.
I'll take that. I'll take it.
Every time you do something, I reach out. I'm like, dude, this is sick. It's so sick.
Well, I kind of want to talk about like the parents aspect about it a little bit. Like, you know, you said they're super supportive of that decision. How do you think that they would describe what you do if they had to describe it?
Oh, well, it's really funny. My dad loves it. My dad is always like, he's always asking me what I'm doing. And my mom is too, but my dad like, got a little verb coming up. My dad is really like, he likes to like send the videos to his friends. Like he'll, in an email too, he'll like email his friends because he's, you know, in his 60s. And yeah, I don't know, that really gets me stoked because it's really cool to see like the people that have supported me since the beginning, like still enjoying everything I do. Like I remember my dad, when we did the X Games thing, DJ and I, and it was on like ESPN, he took a picture and he sent it to me. I think he did it on accident, but he was like, hey, look, my son on TV. Like, you know, he typed it like this or with one finger.
With pecking at the screen.
Yeah, like such bad grammar and like missing like 6 of the words to make a complete sentence. But I was just like, oh, that's pretty sick. Like, I'm glad that like people can appreciate it, like, and like love it as much as I do, you know? And yeah, my parents and my family have always been like number one. They've never been like, no, don't do it. They've always been super.
That's amazing too, great. Especially because you went against the grain of kind of like what the family has always done. Like that's pretty sick, dude.
Yeah.
That's a unique position to be in, to have a support system like that, right?
Totally.
That's so cool. So talking about going to Spain, right? That was like the thing where you just threw the middle fingers up to Glenn, say, I'm going to Spain. At this point, were you still shooting on the T4i, or were you on a new setup?
I'd upgraded, but barely. I shot on DSLRs for a very long time until like probably like 2 or 3 years ago. I was still shooting on like little mirrorless DSLRs. Like I think when I was in Spain, I had like a clapped out Sony A7S II that I bought brand new, like on a credit card, and like was so scared, like trying to pay it off and everything. So it was still in school.
And were you still funding everything through the coffee shop job, or what were you doing at that point in time?
At that point, I had quit. I quit the coffee shop during, I think like in between sophomore and junior year, and I was just full time into filming at that point. Not just doing bike stuff, like kind of anything that came my way, just to pay the bills and whatever. And yeah, so I was on the Sony. I guess what was the
I was just curious, like what camera you were using at that point in time, like how it came to be. Yeah,
totally. Yeah, so just the old Sony. I was still renting lenses. Like I'd always rent lenses. I couldn't afford to buy all my own lenses still, because I was like paying off school alongside trying to like invest in camera gear, and like was too scared to take out loans really. So I just like occasionally would throw something on a credit card, or I would just like rent out lenses. So I went to Spain with like 3 rented lenses in my body, my Sony body, and that was it. Yeah.
Do you remember what lenses they were?
Yeah, 70-200 was the must. That was the one I didn't buy for like a long time because it was like pretty expensive.
So expensive,
especially because I spent all my money on that Sony. But that thing, like that Sony got me through some of like my biggest achievements. That when I look back, I was like, it's crazy that that's like all I had back then, and I was making it work, and I didn't complain.
That's cool.
And now I'm like such a nerd about it, and I'm like always looking for like what's next. But back then I was just like, dude, this thing shoots 4K. That's pretty cool. It could shoot in the dark pretty much. Like that's also pretty sick. So I just didn't really think much about it. I was just like, yeah, it's doing what I need it to do, and that's all I care about.
You're grateful for the tool that took you there. That's sick.
Exactly.
Do you still have that body?
I sold it like last year. Dang. I had that thing for like 6 years, and it barely turned on. I was like, I got to get rid of this before it stops working.
You do get rid of, because we beat our stuff up. Like I look at some of my older DSLR bodies and stuff that are at my office, and I'm like, there is nobody that's going to pay. I think I've got more memories holding this thing than is worth than what somebody would give me like $150. But
Yeah.
I guess people will still pay for those things.
Well, I got rid of it with like the intention of it going to someone that would want to like use it for like what I gave it away for like nothing.
Oh, dope.
That's cool.
Like I
Okay,
posted
yeah,
it on I
that's
think
right.
like Facebook Marketplace for like a couple $100, and it was like like at least a couple grand when I bought it. So
Oh, yeah.
I was just like in the description I was just like, first person to hit me up gets it for this much. I just want it to go to someone that's gonna like use it the way I did. Got hit up within like 20 minutes, and it's like some kid in high school that's like, yeah, I'm really trying to get into filming, and I'm like, dude, perfect. This is like
That's
the best way
passing
that
the
could've-
torch to the
Yeah.
next kid.
Are you still in touch with that kid? Do you
No.
think it could be? Oh,
I should hit him up though. I'd be curious to see like what
If
I
you
always
had him
told
on
him.
Instagram or
Yeah.
whatnot. Yeah.
I always told him to like send me what he made with it, but who
That's
knows
super
if
cool.
it ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, now that we're kind of on the topic of social media, I think it's good.
Is this my time?
Yeah, it's your
Oh,
time.
okay,
Ooh.
cool. So, yeah, okay, I can jump straight into it. Did you have a MySpace page?
Oh yes,
Oh, yes.
of course.
And then, so obviously, we've spent a lot of time together in a vehicle, and so I know a little
About
bit.
24 hours in the last week. So.
Yeah, about 24 hours in the last week. But so I kind of know a little bit of your music taste now. But back then, what was your Did you have a MySpace profile song?
Oh yeah, I did. It was what was it? It was it was my first girlfriend when I was like 13 or 14, and it was Our Song or whatever. It was so bad, dude. It was like one of those middle school relationships where you don't even talk to them.
Yeah.
It was just so useless.
She was your number one, and it was your
number one friend
Oh,
on
yeah.
there and whatever. Yeah, I can't remember what the song was.
Oh, dude, no.
You have to give me a second to remember.
Okay.
I kind of flushed that out of my memory. 'Cause it was
I
just
really
dumb.
hope
Did she
it-
hurt you?
I really,
it's deep. So hard.
I hope it's Hey There Delilah. Delilah.
It was, dude.
no.
It was. That was literally it.
Oh,
Oh my
you're
god.
cracking my ass.
Dude,
I
I'm
love
not
that.
even kidding. That was
Dude,
the song.
that's so rad that
Some
you
plain
got
white
that.
tees. I don't
Yeah.
know the energy. I just felt
yeah.
it, dude.
Oh my god. Yeah. I can't believe I couldn't remember that. That's so funny though.
So
I'm just thinking back to his age right there, and like the time and place,
Dude,
the
I
music
love
that
that.
was
I
coming
was into
out.
that was like the sad era.
Yeah,
You're like
that
40.
emo.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Oh,
indie
dude, I
rock.
bought like a studded belt from like Hot Topic, and I was like, I'm so sick.
Dude, the studded belts and the zebra belts, like
Yeah.
zebra print was
It
in
was
that
huge,
period.
dude, and the skinny jeans.
Oh yeah,
Oh my
for
god,
sure.
what an era.
hell yeah.
I don't know if I'm allowed to start with this story, but there was a story that you were telling me about. Oh, it may have been Facebook though.
What was
about
it?
your girlfriend's dad. Should we just leave?
Oh, let's not. That's the one thing I don't want to talk about.
All right. Well,
That one's
yeah.
pretty funny.
So we-
but-
insert cut here. So,
yeah.
Hey There Delilah was your MySpace song then.
For at least a little while this very short-lived
Okay.
middle school relationship.
If you had a MySpace today, what would your MySpace song be?
Ooh, probably something like something. Let me think about
Ooh.
that. That's a really tough one.
Yeah.
Like what encompasses my personality
Yeah.
now?
I don't know what mine would be.
Probably
so good luck.
something dumb. Like actually, it was funny when James and I were in the car. Like I had my liked songs on Spotify just on shuffle, and I've left. It was the first album I ever liked on Spotify, but it's Christmas songs in the tone of cat meows.
Oh my
And I would love that. Something like that just really throws people
That would be
off. Is
perfect.
like
yeah.
So every time that comes on my shuffle, I have to listen to at least some of it because it just is so hilarious.
Oh,
And it
bad.
was like a 45-second period of him
I
acknowledging this.
I stopped and like turned up the music.
Yeah, we're in the middle of a conversation, turns it
You're
up.
probably just like,
And then-
what is going
I'm
on?
like, this is, but he like listened to it for a legit 45 seconds, and it was like jingle bells in meowing.
In
or something.
meows.
Yeah, like, brilliant, absolutely
Yeah.
fantastic. What a world.
I love it.
I don't
dude.
know. Yeah, I like dumb stuff, so that's probably
Dumb
my
stuff
choice.
is good
Yeah.
stuff.
Did you have a background that you remember? Did
Dude,
you use
yeah.
it to display your images?
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was actually right around when I first picked up a camera. I think was when I had my MySpace page. My background of it, I'm pretty sure it was like a dark background, but it was like cars. It was like Lamborghinis or something,
Hell
So
yeah.
I was just like, I was just like, these cars are sick. This
Mine,
is
mine
cool.
was on the same level as that, dude. I had Louis Vuitton and Burberry on mine.
Yes,
So,
yeah. That was just like the MySpace era. It was just like that's what was cool
Yeah.
then.
What are you into?
Well,
Yeah.
now that we're talking, okay, so let's say that you had the Lamborghinis on the backdrop. So 15, 14-year-old Tory? Is that
Or
about,
even
give or take?
younger. I
Maybe
think I had
13.
MySpace at like starting like 12 or 13. I
Oh
would think.
my.
That was right around.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. And then do you think that 12-year-old or 13-year-old Tory would have looked at the X Games edit where Deej pulls up in because that was a Lambo that he pulled up in, wasn't
Oh
it?
yeah, true. Yeah.
How do you think that 12-year-old Tori would have like seen that video and knew that you filmed that and made
lost my mind, dude. Because I think that was right when I first started taking pictures, and I had no anticipation of like actually making anything of it. I just did it because I thought it was fun. Man, if I was that old and got to take a picture of a Lamborghini myself, I would have lost my mind. But you know, just knowing that like we got to like have one in a video is pretty fun. You know,
that's so sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that video is sick. I forget about that. He pulls up in a Lamborghini.
Yeah, completely done as a joke as well.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
people hated it, dude. We got so much crap for that. Like, I think some of the top comments were about, like, oh, well, DJ's not, he doesn't have enough, like, pride to, like, not want to, like, show up in a shitty car or something. He's just like, and DJ always posts about how like he can never afford a Lambo, and he's just like, it's funny that like I do this because everybody knows how much mountain bike athletes make. Unless you're like the top dog, it's not, you know, you can make a living, but it's not like you're just rolling in it. And so, yeah, we did it as a joke because we thought it'd be funny.
It's more of an ironic like take on something.
An ironic thing. And everyone was just like, man, I can't believe that he's like so egotistical. He thinks he's all that.
I love that. I love that that's like the response you got though, because you're kind of like invoking that in people, right?
Yeah, totally. And it's so hard to please everybody, right? And that was, it just sucks because it's like, okay, well, then they kind of missed out on like their whole video.
What it actually meant.
And just, So.
And that was it. Was that the first X Games part you guys worked on?
The first and only, yeah.
Okay.
So there's only been one X Games so far.
That's right.
Real MTB. I don't know why they stopped doing it. I'm not sure.
That is weird. Because that was kind of started because of COVID, right?
It happened during COVID, which was tricky enough as it was. But yeah, it was weird. They did it the 1 year, and we were so excited about it coming to the scene because like we've all been fans of real moto, real BMX, real skate, real snow, all of them, and so. Being in the mountain bike world, like finally it's cool to like see that mountain bikers are doing some really progressive stuff. And the fact that DJ got in, of all people, I was like, he deserves it. They took 6
people, right?
6 people from the entire world.
And the DJ, other names, like, I mean, DJ's sick as heck, dude. Like, but like some of those other names, you're like, dude, Danny McCaskill,
Brandon Semenuk, Danny McCaskill, Cam Zink, just all these really, really influential riders. And like this, it's so cool that people saw that just local hometown hero DJ Brandt's like doing really innovative stuff, and that he could have a shot at like impressing a lot of people.
Well, and the fact that you two got to work on that together, because I feel like your perspectives are so different than most people's. Like the way you film stuff, the way he rides a bike. So like there's a reason that happened, and I think that's really cool that like it happened, you know?
Yeah. No, I was just happy he trusted me to do it. I think part of it's just that we've been friends for so long, and working on something of like that level for DJ where it's really a career changer for him, like helped him get sponsors and retain sponsors, right? Because you got TV time, like that's huge. And so I think just us being friends made that stress level go down a lot. Whereas if he picked someone else that, you know, probably could have done even a better job filming, it might not have had the same fun and might not have turned out as
the energy wouldn't have been the same between.
Exactly.
That's super cool.
Yeah. Going just a nerd fact question right now, but on that X Games part, what was the roof gap? No, it wasn't a gap, I'm sorry, but roof drop.
The drop.
Yeah, and he didn't tell you what he was going to do on it, right?
Oh, that was, so if whoever's watching, if you haven't seen this video, the ender part for DJ's X Games segment was this roof in Boulder. I think it was just not Boulder High.
It's like the middle school or the elementary school.
It's off a baseline and Broadway there. And DJ's ski friends told him about it, and they're like, yeah, we've wanted to hit this as like a drop on skis, which is that's like more standard. Like you could build up a landing and take off everything. And he's like, well, I'm just going to ride it, put a piece of plywood on the roof and just drop off it.
Typical DJ style.
Yeah.
And we went scouting it, and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. The landing is like flat. And I was like, if you can even hit this, I'll be impressed. Like, I know he could do it, but just like the idea of him hitting it, I was like, that's crazy. And I remember he hit it, and I was already freaking out. And I was like, we got the clip. Like, that's so sick. Like, let's go home. And he's like, I think I want to just go up and do one more. Like, I'll just test out, see if I can like steeze it a little bit. I didn't like how it looked. And he didn't tell anybody, but he goes up and he does a 3, like just spins it, doesn't even think about it, and just lands it totally clean.
Savage, dude.
How sick
that clip, every time I see that clip and I've like heard the story like through you guys, I'm just like dumbfounded.
Yeah,
dumbfounded, because like
totally.
I feel like when you're doing something that gnarly, like if you vocalize it, that's when it's scary already. But if you vocalize it, then there's an expectation, you know, and like. But for you, probably behind the camera, you're probably freaking out.
Oh my God, dude. Yeah. I've like never like jumped up and down and like ran to hug him after anything until this moment. And I was just like, that was ridiculous. I cannot believe you just pulled that off. Like, this is going to be a really incredible video now, you know?
So sick, dude. Yeah. Well, now that we've kind of jumped forward into talking about like semi-current day Tori Powers,
Yes.
I would love to talk about like, what does your morning routine look like
Oh my
these
God.
days?
Oh, good question.
Oh, I don't think there is a routine. I think I've tried to give myself a schedule, but it just doesn't happen. Because my schedule is so weird. I'm like half the time I'm not even in the same state, or I'm on a flight or something. So I'm always traveling around for shoots and whatever. When I'm at home though, I do try to like make myself do stuff every day, even on like weekends. I always try to do something like related to work. I do give myself some time too. Like I always make sure I have time for myself, but I just like really like working, and
Heck yeah.
I don't know. It's you're doing your passion, and
Yeah.
I try to focus on at least like something cool on the weekends maybe, or like think about some ideas I want to try or something. But morning routine is like, it's pretty bad. I've been wanting to get an alarm clock because I have such a bad habit of like, I wake up and then I go on Instagram immediately, and it sucks, dude. I hate it. And I don't know why I do it, but I do. And so I'll lay in bed for a bit on Instagram, and I always like do my emails and stuff in bed still. Like my eyes are barely open. And then I'll go make food and then sit down at the computer and do work and whatever. So I don't know. It's like kind of standardized in that sense. Like I wake up and just work pretty much immediately, but I wish I could like wake up and then get out of bed and then work, but it doesn't work that way. Usually like an hour and a half in bed.
Sounds semi like a routine though.
Yeah, it's just like a unhealthy one maybe.
That's awesome.
We're getting there.
So,
we're focusing.
You talked a little bit about doing stuff for yourself. Like what is something that you do, or some things that you do to help like re-energize yourself or like fill your cup up like outside of work? Or maybe it is working on something that is a passion project.
I mean, riding is first and foremost. Like I still try to ride my bike as much as possible. I haven't been able to as much lately just because my schedule's been kind of wacky. But I love to just like do anything that's like productive. It can be anything. Like recently I just bought like an old shitty dresser off Facebook Marketplace that had like, 50 years worth of paint on it, like so many layers. And I was like, I'm going to refinish this thing. I'm going to sand it and get all the paint off. Man, that was a bad idea. It's been like weeks of me working on this thing.
No.
But I just love like anything that keeps my mind busy and like is just like, kind of like doing stuff with my hands too, so I like to just do anything like that I can. So yeah, I love like me and my girlfriend just moved and we're like setting up our place, so like I love just like working on that, like putting up pictures and just like stylizing things and anything creative and just like that I can really focus my energy on that just keeps me distracted from everything else, where I can just turn my brain off. That's what I need,
That's awesome.
And that's why I like riding. Me and James talked about it a little bit recently, but it's like the one thing I can do where like it takes all of your brain power. Like you can't really think about much else. And I think that's really nice.
It's kind of like that busy work where you're kind of just engaged in that moment.
You can like flip the switch a little bit and just focus,
Like, you know how it goes. Like you might have stress on your mind or whatever, and then you go out and ride and you're just so focused on the riding that you just forget about that for
everything fizzes away for a little bit. The weight's lifted,
Exactly.
That's good vibe.
That's good for sure. Before we move into like getting into current day work and the stuff that you're working on now, what's something that most people don't know about you? I feel like we got a little glimpse into it with the cat meowing song, but
it's just, speaking of cats, it's actually funny that you're bringing this up right now, because for some reason I thought that when we started this that we were going to do like an icebreaker or something to get things moving. And I have this really, really funny story actually of an icebreaker in college. But one thing that's special about me and Sam actually is that we can purr.
Amazing. Like, can we hear it?
Yes, of course.
Wait, no, back up. Give us some more. What do you mean you guys can purr? Like,
So somehow we both learned that we can like use our throat to like make this weird thing happen with air where it like it's like a staccato like vibration thing, and it kind of sounds like a cat purring.
At what age did you guys discover this?
So long ago, dude. We've been doing this for like 15 years, and I think he found out first and then like told me how he did it, and somehow I could just do it. Like I didn't even have to think about it. It was just like this natural, unfortunate talent that I have. It's not really very cool. It's just really weird.
What is the one thing about Tory Powers? This videographer has been around the world, worked with some of the biggest companies, best athletes. Yeah, I can purr.
I can purr though. It's pretty cool. Well, okay, so the funny, I'll do it after I tell the story, because the story is pretty embarrassing, and it was tricky. But so it was freshman year of college, and I think it was like orientation week or whatever. And it's nobody. I'm at CU, so it's a huge culture shock for me coming from this like tiny town. I don't know a single person there, right? And my very first like icebreaker room was this like 200 person lecture hall when we went, it was like 2 hours long, and we went around, and like they're like, everybody in this room is gonna say their name, where they're from, and like one thing about them that's unique. And I was like, this is a nightmare. This is like literally my worst nightmare. And I was like probably like middle of the pack or whatever, right? It's already been like an hour, and I was like I really wanted to make friends, because I was like, man, I don't know anybody here. Like, I have to at least kind of try.
Sure.
And I was like, I think I'm just gonna tell people that I like know how to purr, and people will laugh and we'll move on. And it comes to me, and I'm like, hi, yeah, my name is Tori. I'm from Lions, and the one thing about me is that I can purr. And the professor like stops in his tracks, and he's like, what did you say? Because everybody before that was like, I went to Croatia this summer, or like, I can touch my toes, or I can touch my heels past my toe, just something like whatever, you know? And he stops, and he's like, well, are you going to show us? And I was just like, oh no. And I was just getting so sweaty already. And then I do it, and like, it's so quiet that like only the people around me can hear. And they're all like, oh my God. And then the professor's like, okay, I guess we're all like, everybody line up. We're going to just go listen to this. And I shit you not, like literally this like 100, 200 person lecture hall gets in a line to come listen to me purr. It takes like 15 minutes.
You're ready to start crying.
Dude,
at this
oh
point,
my
huh?
God. I could not believe what was happening. And this was like the first memory I have of college. And I was like, this is going to be a train wreck.
Let
Do I
me ask
drop
you
out
this,
now?
though. Did you make friends?
No, dude. I just became I don't know a single person from that lecture hall. All I remember is seeing kids during orientation week, and then they're just being, you're the kid that knows how to purr. And I was like, no way is this my legacy here. And I was like, I gotta drop out. I gotta get out of here. But yeah, I guess without further ado, wet the whistle.
Whoa.
It's kind of subtle, but it's just
Can
like
we
a
get
weird
one more of those?
Yeah.
Wow.
That is worth.
It's a
Oh my
weird
God.
one.
It's so quiet though. So imagine, how many people just came.
That's why it's so embarrassing, because they had to get like close. Like, you guys have headphones that direct it, but they had to be like
Up in your ear.
Yeah.
So did it like hurt your throat by the end of doing that for
Oh,
200
yeah.
people? Were
I
you
mean,
like, I'm wounded, man?
even after just talking how much we have right now and trying it, it's pretty hard to do. So you can imagine doing it for like 15
What
minutes.
kind of
straight.
professor does that?
Dude, it was so embarrassing. It was like definitely one of the most embarrassing moments of my life.
I want to thank you for the most unique answer to that question that this podcast has
Absolutely.
ever
Yes.
seen.
Oh, that had me going.
Cool.
That's
That was
amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Wow.
Well, yeah, you
All
can
right,
thank
well, we
Sam
could-
Powers for that one. He's the
Thanks,
inventor.
Sam.
of it.
Shout out to Sam, dude.
Yeah.
I guess now we can just stop the podcast and go home,
Yeah,
right?
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Yeah, wow. That was impressive. Well, as we get into current day work and things that you're doing, what do you think is like one of the most misunderstood things about the industry that you're in, or the business that you're working in?
I think it's really misunderstood how much effort, I guess, goes into producing the content that you see, because there's so much media out there nowadays, right? Like, you can turn on the TV or go on any website and you'll see 50 new videos that come across from like all walks of the world, right? And I think a lot of people just don't understand like how much it means to them to get any feedback from it, like constructive or not. So much work goes into this, and like looping back to like the imposter syndrome stuff. It's like, it's so hard to even get the courage to like post a lot of stuff, because you just know how people are going to take it. So I think it's something that people should consider more. Just like think about like, oh, like this was like a lot of work. That like, how long did this take? What went into it? I think that's something that a lot of people don't really fully grasp. And I think it's really cool. Like, I love seeing the behind the scenes a lot more than I love seeing the actual production sometimes, because man, people put a lot of effort into videos.
Yeah, I feel the same way as that, because do you know who Cole Bennett is?
Yeah.
Lyrical Lemonade. So he does a lot of like shot on iPhone stuff, and he has a lot of behind the scenes of showing like the shots and how he's lighting things. And like, I'm endlessly more fascinated by that because of exactly what you're saying. He's like walking you through what the whole idea is and like what the whole platform is going to be for this video. And like, you start to get a grasp for what goes into the 3 minutes that you see.
Exactly.
It's like multiple days of the
Totally,
project.
right.
And that's small scale.
Exactly. And like, I think I really noticed that in full effect with the X Games part, because it was 90 seconds and we shot for like 4 months.
Wow.
Like, not every day, obviously, but we would work for days to get like 1 3-second clip. And so I thought it's so sick, because they do a whole BTS program, like an hour-long special that like shows like the whole BTS thing. And I thought that was so cool just to get to see like what everybody puts into their part. And so, yeah, I think just maybe it's just being on the creative side of things that I have appreciation for that a lot more than other people. And like everybody in this room is on the same page there. But yeah, I think if you never have seen that kind of stuff, it's so worth the time to like watch and just see like, I don't know, there's so much that goes into it. So
it's not just, I was going to say, it's not just that the production of that 4 or 5 days or 4 months or whatever. It's also like coming up with the idea. How long did it take?
The concept.
Right.
Yeah, like we talk all the time about ideas that like half the time it's just like me coming up with something random as can be, and you're like, yep, keep working. But yeah, sounds great kind of thing.
Well, I want to talk a little bit. So, you referenced the X Games part in there. That's 90 seconds, right? Like, do you know off the top of your head how much raw footage you had from those 4 months, like time-wise?
Hours and hours and hours.
And you had to condense that down into a minute 30.
Yeah. And obviously not like, it was kind of different because we had like certain tricks that we wanted to get. And so we had like, in reality, probably like 10 minutes of usable footage, but we'd been shooting for hours and hours, obviously. And so, yeah, it was tough condensing it because 90 seconds when you're shooting for 4 months, and we had like 3 or 4 different zones that we shot this in. Like we had like a whole snow segment and we had like all this stuff. And so getting that to 90 seconds was so hard because we had to cut a lot of clips, and we probably put in more clips than we should have because it felt a little rushed, I thought, by the end and after I watched it and whatever. But man, 90 seconds for that much is not enough time.
That's
like,
insane.
Usually we're making like 3-minute edits in a couple of days of shooting. So when you factor that in times like 20 for how much shooting and then divide it by 2, it's like, man, it's so hard to pick and choose what you want to put in there, So
I love that. That's a really good and unique perspective on that.
How did, sorry, not to, and Mike has all these like amazing questions that I know that we need to get to, but
we gotta
start
have
geeking out.
your little.
It's good to have the James tangents.
Well,
yes.
yeah, but I think that, again, if you haven't seen the X Games part for Deej, it's definitely worth a watch no matter what. But the snow part, kind of like, was that just like a throwback to his days growing up around Winter Park? Not growing up around Winter Park, but riding a lot there or skiing there a lot?
It's a weird one. He had that idea from the very beginning, actually. He was like, I know no one else is going to do this. I think that was more what it was.
Oh, that's dope.
And I'll give it to DJ. He had like all the creative ideas for this. I barely had any input because he was basically just like, this is the way I like to ride and I want to do it in this way. And then I was like, and I'll just come film it and I'll just like shoot like what I think looks cool. And we were both super down with that. And so he does spend a lot of time in the mountains in the winter, but it wasn't like his thing. So I think it was more just like, I've never done this and I know the right people, so maybe we can make something weird out of this. And
just something unique and off the wall.
And no one else had like a snow segment. I thought that was cool that we got to do that because like we knew like the marketing people and then some of the builders there, and they shut down like a whole run, like this whole big section, because there's like this tunnel at like, I think it's called 5 Points, which is like a major intersection for Winter Park. And they closed off like this whole area of it so that we could build like a jump onto like the top of the tunnel. Cause there was like this on off that he did a front flip on and then 360'd off. And they like shut down the whole thing, and there was like a whole crowd there like watching Deej and stuff.
Cool.
And he was so anxious because of it, because he's got like he's got people to impress now, right? And man, and it was so hard to do that snow segment too. I'm glad you brought it up because like they had to build all this like the night before, and they were using like blow torches to like ice over all the jumps so that they would sit overnight and like pack enough. Because like a bike doesn't float like skis or a snowboard does. It like really cuts into the snow. So it had to be like rock hard, which meant it was super slippery. So it was like so sketchy the DJ was riding on this, let alone doing all these tricks.
Yeah,
and
like the front flip is one thing because you're kind of going linear, but like
spinning
carving for a 360 on something that is slippery.
Gosh,
like
yeah.
I don't even like to like 360 at a slippery skate park.
Right.
So like that's pretty insane.
Yeah.
Wow.
We can get back to some of your more serious questions.
No, that was
now.
I loved that. Thank you for that.
That was
Got
great.
my little bits.
So we talked about something that's misunderstood. What, in your eyes, is something that people should stop doing?
Good question.
As like a filmer or as a spectator, someone who watches the videos?
Why not both?
Okay. I guess it's kind of the same. It'll be more or less the same answer for both, in just like the general idea. But I think filmers should stop trying to meld their videos to impress everybody. I think that that's the direction it's gone lately, because there's such, I mean, you have brands paying for stuff, and you know who's going to be watching this. So like everybody kind of shapes their videos to like, hit the target. And this goes back to the advertising days. It's like, that's what you're supposed to do to like have a successful video, but stuff gets really stale because of it. And I'm like a victim of this too. I do it all the time. I make my videos specifically for who I want to see watch it. And, sometimes I'll like not be as creative in something, or I'll pick a song that I don't particularly love, but I know that it's more the genre that people will like. And then I catch myself doing that, and I'm like, man, that sucks that I'm doing this to please people I don't even know that are going to watch this and probably still find something to nitpick about it. And so then I think that goes to the other side of things. The people that watch the videos, I think, should have more of an open mind, I guess, when watching new media, because I think that everybody is like, especially in the mountain biking world, they're like, the song sucks, or like there's too much slow-mo. And it's like, guys, like, it doesn't have to always be the same video, because you're asking for the same thing. You're asking for probably rock to like a full speed cut. It's like, no one wants to see that every time. Like you might want to, but that's not everybody. And so I think just like having that open mind and like just wanting to have a new experience for once is way cooler. And it gets creatives more fired up because they can do stuff they want to do. And so, yeah, I've been trying to even get out of that kind of rut, and just like want to make stuff that I think is cool, and not just like a video that I think will please people and the brands.
Well,
I love that.
Along that lines, is there anything that comes to mind that you have intentionally taken out of a project because you were either nervous about putting it out there, or that you didn't think people would respond to it well?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, that happens from a lot of sides. That happens coming straight from me, coming from the brands, and from the athletes. Like, brands will comment about stuff. They'll be like, ooh, that's not really on brand. Yeah. Like, even if it could be so much as like not having a foot on the pedal. And I told you a little bit, I'm not going to get into who that was or anything, but brands they'll comment about that stuff. It's really, really dumb stuff that would like no one else would notice. And it's like athletes, I get it, because they might be like, oh, I don't love how I look in that clip. Mm-hmm. And then for me, it's like, oh, I missed focus on that shot. So it's kind of like all these factors that stack up into like what eventually ends up happening. But yeah, I mean, there are times where like I might have like a creative thing that I want to do, and like the brand is like, I don't like it, or I'm like, I don't know if that fits the vibe. So I don't know. It's a really hard battle to win.
I feel like it is a hard battle to go into, especially when a brand has like a strong like brand themselves. Like they have a lot of equity built in. So like when it comes to like, hey, like we're about going fast, like we don't put our feet down in a corner or whatever it is, like that's it's hard to like play that game, because you're just like, well, this like it looked cool, and it's like this looks good in a video format, but like it's hard like being on the brand side for myself. I could see that, because like if somebody like for us, if somebody designed something and used like a color that was off or a font that was off, I would kind of feel the same way.
It's the same thing. Yeah. And I get it. I just,
but it's hard like being the creative dude that's like, hey, I'm making this for you and it's cool for this reason.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so I think, it's hard for brands sometimes to be open to something that's a little different that could
change
benefit
is scary.
them. The change is very scary.
So, yeah.
So I think that kind of leads us into like, when it comes to projects, like, are you driven by putting food on the table at the end of the day? Or are you driven by like making cool stuff with equity, or is it kind of a blend of the two?
Yeah, it goes kind of back and forth, because I think I kind of love working in industries that I have no business working in. So when I do get hit up for just a project that is like just a bill payer or something, I usually will just take it, because I'm like, I'll probably learn something from this, which I try to think about that more than like the fact that it's not like necessarily headed in my final direction, like it's askew this way or that way. But at the same time, like I do get definitely more inspired and just like want to put more time into the stuff that does make me tick at the end of the day. Like I really love making stuff that makes people feel something, like I don't want to just like pump out commercial stuff my whole life. Like I like doing it because I might learn a thing or two about how production works and like how to, make a story better or something. But yeah, I definitely don't want to be doing that my whole career. Yeah. And I'd rather focus on the stuff that like makes I want to like change like one person's perspective with a video, or like it'd be cool to change someone's life, but I don't know if I'll ever get there, but just like that is like the ultimate goal.
Well, I think it's good to be aware of that for yourself, because like as long as I've known you and your brother too, like you guys are both soulful people, so being able to put soul into your work, like that's that's a very rare thing for people to be able to do. So for you to have that understanding of what you want to do, and I personally see it come through in your work. So
thanks. That's good.
Sick to see.
At least one person, maybe two
go.
over here.
That's you one person.
You changed my life.
Yes.
Yeah. So with that being said, like, what are some of your favorite projects that you worked on to date?
Yeah. So probably, I was thinking you might ask this question, so I kind of thought about it in the car, but I was having a little bit of trouble finding like the exact ones. But one of my favorites was recently. It was this past winter. It was a video for Yeti with Warren Niss called 𝙎𝘾𝘼𝙍𝙬. And it was my friend Wiley's idea that he'd been like bringing it back to like how long things are cooking in the oven before they actually hit the production scene. He had this idea for probably almost 2 years before we actually got the budget and like pitched it and made it happen. And the idea was to do like a quote unquote one shot with cable cams where all the cuts are covered up. So the camera is moving this whole time. And it seems like it should be like a drone or something, but it's a little too dynamic for that. That was like our goal. We wanted to kind of confuse people a little bit. And so we have like these 7 shots that all link up, and it's like like the camera will be obscured or like will match cut a little bit, just enough to like not be able to tell where the cuts are. And it ended up being this like 2-minute one shot take, basically from the top of the trail to the bottom of the trail. And the reason I like that one so much is it brings it back to the BTS thing. Like, if people knew how much time went into that, especially on Wiley's end, man, that guy has the best ideas and he like perfects them before he ever tells anybody. But we ended up having to like find property, lease the land, like get lawyers involved, build a whole trail.
Whoa.
With 4 dudes and a few shots. Oh, there were a few people that helped us out on top of that too, but just all hand tools in the winter, because Wiley only has good ideas in the winter for some reason. And we're like fighting like 1 foot or 2 of snow storms that cruise through, just like crazy temperatures, freezes. We're up till sundown on this mountain every single day for like a month straight.
Dang.
All for a 3-minute video. And like people will still be like, didn't like the song.
Dang, I love that perspective on that, because I loved that video and I did not know all of that. So now that just brings so much more equity to the forefront on that.
And yeah, I love giving credit where it's due to like the people that helped on that shoot, because it was such a team effort. Like, I played such a small role in just like the grand scheme of things, because we had Wiley, who's just like the mastermind. We had 2 other folks helping us shoot, like Drew and Kaysen on the scene. And then the rider, Warren, is just like absolutely crushing it. Like, he has to be on his game just as much as us. You know, it's like Wiley has to kill. Like, so we all have our controls, right? Like, I drove the cable cam. Like, I drove the car. Wiley's doing the gimbal. So he's watching where the rider's going, making sure he's framed right. Kaysen's pulling the focus. Warren is riding, and we have to time all of this stuff perfect. So it's like these 4 or 5 people all working together to get one shot every single time. So it's so cool when it works out, you know, and you can be like, yes, we got it. We can move on to the next thing.
High fives all around.
Yeah. And so I've really wanted to focus on trying to do more BTS when I like do my shoots, not to like give myself any more credit, but to show like how many other people are helping out with this. Cause I think a lot of times people just see the top name on there and they're like, This is a Wiley video, and like give him the credit for sure. But I want to make sure that like the other people that were there, like, are like, you know,
the people that are essentially holding everybody up. Like,
totally.
I was talking to a guy that does a lot of like BMX cinematography stuff. And he was telling me recently, he's like, I feel like nobody likes to watch the credits of videos.
Yeah.
And like, cause I was like talking about all the videos he's filmed, and he's like, how do you know that? And I was like, dude, cause it's like, that to me is like the coolest part. Cause like you can start to pick up like what people are working on. So like at the end of every video, I'm almost pausing it to look at like who's doing the sound engineering, who's doing like the rigging, like, cause then you can start to get a feel and a vibe for like, oh, this video feels like this video. And like, you can kind of see whose style is what. So like, yeah, I hope that people get more into that headspace of thinking like, what is going on behind the scenes of this?
Well, I think also it gives us the opportunity, and I say this to both of you guys a lot, but I feel like a big thing that's beautiful is to break down the veil or whatever. So like to show these athletes that we're all just humans, right? They're humans, but then to break down the behind the scenes, because then that's the kind of thing of that. It can be a young aspiring videographer or photographer who's just like, how on earth do they even do this? And you get on YouTube and you're like, oh shit, there's a 10-minute behind the scenes or whatnot. But then you see those core moments, and it's something we actually talked about recently too. On Art of Flight, Travis Rice video. just mind-boggling, and it was just such a brilliant video to bring snowboarding to the masses. But there's scenes in there where they got snowed out. They're sitting around and they're all like just playing some board games or something. And to me, that's one of the most beautiful things that we get to do, is that there are down times when the light's not right, middle of the day, that kind of thing. We're sitting around watching The Office on reruns or whatever it may be, and just like bullshitting with one another. And I feel like that, I don't know, there's something really beautiful about that. And we build a lot of really good friendships over it. And to like show somebody the behind the scenes of all that kind of stuff. I don't know.
There's a lot of magic, and there's a lot of energy that happens in the moments that are unseen, right? And exactly what you're saying. It's like, that's what's kind of going into those projects. You know what I mean? Like, that's when you're out there filming, it's like, that's what's driving you. Cause you're like, oh shit, like we played Uno until 2 a.m. and we drank beers and we're laughing. And now we can work on this project together because we're like, you know,
you're on each other's level a little bit more. Level. You can kind of like figure out what the other one's going and where they're going with an idea when they like half-ass explain it, and you're like, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's this, this, and this. Some flat rider in an old.
Now that we're on this topic, I was talking to DJ Brandt earlier today, and he told me to ask you about one of the first times you came out to the desert to film, and you had a couple beers, and how did that end up for you?
Well. Okay, there's actually there's a couple funny stories with DJ and the first times I was in the desert. But one of the very first times I was in the desert was I think it was like 2018. I think was his first time out there, and we were making a video. And as James knows, and as I sip my second Topo Chico here, I am rudely awakened that I cannot handle my alcohol at all. And it was like me, DJ, and Ethan Nell, and we're all hanging out, and we go to our friend Jory's house. Jory is like this amazing like fitness coach, cook, extraordinaire guy. And anyways, we had a few too many beers that night, and we go back to Ethan's house, which is where we were all staying, and it was at his parents' house at the time. And I had like this violent puke session that night. And dude, I probably had like 4 beers. Can't. And it just happened in a short time, right?
Yeah.
So I just, that's why.
Probably on an empty stomach too.
No, I just can't handle it. And I was like puking so hard that his mom like woke up and like came to check on me.
No way.
Yeah. And then there was another time. I don't think it was on the same trip. This might have been the trip before actually. So maybe I don't know if DJ has his story straight, but the very first time, it was me and Wiley and DJ down there, and we all had edibles the night before we went shooting, and I never, ever like smoke or have edibles. I'm like not that kind of guy. Just, again, I can't handle my shit. So we had these edibles, and this is like, I think this is right around like legalization time, or maybe a little before, when things are definitely not regulated, and like you never know if it's 10 milligrams or it's a lot more, or a lot less or whatever. And we all had like weed hangovers the next day. Like we were still like kind of
just like
high,
moping around, sluggish.
Yeah, and I have like this clip somewhere of DJ like so mad throwing his bike down a cliff because he just like, I couldn't pull focus or like move the camera because I was so groggy, and DJ could not hit jump. So we're just like, you know what? I think today's a write-off. So there are those days like where, I mean, this was substance based, which, you know, doesn't happen too often. And like I said, it's just because I can't handle my stuff. But there are a lot of days like that, though, where like, I mean, it's not just that. It's like wind, or like you're waiting for the perfect light, or, you know, the athlete might crash, or your camera might break. You know, there's just all these factors that go into this 5-second window that you get like the one shot of the day. So it is just a crazy, you know, scheme of events that ends up leading to like the perfect
just
moment where
in the moment,
the stars align. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then also, DJ was curious why you only eat burritos when you're in the desert.
DJ only eats burritos when he's in the desert, and he lives in the desert. DJ force feeds me burritos, let's say, when we're in the desert.
That's fair.
He only will eat Costa Vida, and and I actually just took James the first time to Costa Vida recently.
How was it?
And told him that story.
It was bitching. Oh, the best thing about that place is the walls. They've got these walls that are like
made of water.
Yeah, and it's like,
are they like waterfalls?
No, it's plexiglass each side, and it's got wee
like
holes
LEDs
in it,
and
LEDs at the bottom, and it's got like a pump, so it's like pumping bubbles and stuff around, so there's movement. Oh, it's brilliant. Yeah,
I need to see this place.
No, the food's pretty
sweet.
all right too.
It's decent, but yeah. I mean, DJ, when that's all you eat and you're there for like weeks on end and he's just like done riding, he's like, you want to get Costa? I'm like, oh my God, I could puke right now. That man, all he eats is burritos and burgers, and he's a top level athlete. So what does that say?
Athleticism, man. That says anybody can do it, man.
Exactly. Live your dreams.
So talking about like having the edible hangovers or whatever, and like, or the camera breaking, like what do you think the biggest challenge photographers or filmmakers face today is?
I would say it's nothing like outside force based. I think it's all your internal struggle. I think that's the thing. And I think the constant battle of like wanting to do something creatively and not just like settling for like, this is a decent, like I'll get the shot. And that's a tough one too, because a lot of the times you choose an angle, especially in mountain biking, that like complements what you're shooting, which would be the rider and like their amplitude or what trick they're doing and making sure it's from the right side. But then you just like are like, oh, well, this would work because it would show the riding good. But then you're like, but is the angle good? And then you just end up getting into this like downhill spiral of like, oh, well, I want to like impress myself and I want to do something cool that makes me stand out, but I don't want to like miss the shot. And so I think that's probably the biggest issue that a lot of people face, is just like wanting to do something well and good and make it something that's going to maybe change the game on their side of things. And it's pretty dang hard to do new stuff in the media world because there's so much of it now.
Yeah.
And the access is, I love that people can get into it really easily now. I think that's great. It just makes, there just be such a flood of content though, that like there is a lot of stuff that's good enough now and people will settle for stuff, but wanting to do something new and creative is really hard in this kind of world.
And it's also, I'm sure it's kind of hard to like discern what is great and what is good, right?
Totally.
Because there is so much of it. Talking about like trying to shoot these different tricks or like big gaps or whatever at a different angle, like what is a gamble that you've taken while you're out there and you're like, I don't know if this is going to do it justice, but it's paid off? Like what is one of those ones that stands out to you?
Probably like risky drone shots or something. I don't know. I'm trying to think of like what would be like a good example, but I think I usually go into it a little more confident just because I have DJ to like help me kind of think of the angles. Like that's like a really good pair because he knows like what would look good and I know what makes him look good. So we kind of already have like a little bit of a head start there. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think. I don't know if I have like an exact shot that I can remember getting that was like huge, but I'll think about it for a minute.
Well, on the other side of that, like what do you think your biggest failure is so far to date? It doesn't have to be a specific angle or anything like that.
Damn,
but like
heavy hitting.
Yeah, maybe you left a lens at home and you get out there and you're like, damn, my 70 to 200's at home and I'm in the desert. Fuck.
Oh man. We'll take a quick pause while I think of this because this is gonna be gonna be a tough one to.
Is it tough because you've had
had so many of them?
Is it tough because you've had so many failures, or because you've had so few?
No, I think that there's so many failures. I think that's the issue. Is everybody has these. They could be small too. It could be like just a daily thing, like like you said, like just forgetting a lens at home or something. But I've definitely had full day shoots where I like delete the footage. Like that's a big one, and that's a very expensive and like difficult thing to like tell people about.
How like give me the rundown, because I'm that I'm like loose with my stuff.
Oh, same.
Like as far as backing stuff up, never do it or anything.
Yeah.
So, but like, what was it, like a reformat of a card? Was it just?
Well, yeah, I've had like a few different things happen. Like it's been one where it's been like, I forgot to just back it up, or like I'll be like, oh, I'll just back it up later and then forget and then run out of space or something. There's been times where my memory card like actually breaks and I have to like, I just lose the footage, or like it gets wet or something. Like that happens. There's been times, I mean, like on like another kind of like big issue one is like, if you're filming an athlete and you like forget to push record, or you fuck up the focus, or like frame it wrong, and you like, they're out there risking their lives and you miss the shot, like see you later, buddy. You'll find a new filmer. But I don't know. I think that there's just so many small failures like day to day, but I think it's so normal at the same time. Like I can't really think of like one major one that I can place my finger on beyond just like the footage thing. But I think at the same time, I think those failures are what teach you the most, like I was really afraid to mess up for the longest time, and I think now it's like it's okay to mess up because you just learn to not do it again, you know, and you learn how to do it better and improve, and
you're embracing and accepting those failures.
Yeah,
right?
like it's gonna happen. Nobody's perfect, and especially not in like the filming world. Like there's so many, you mess up all the time. Like it's just it's so.
How many times? And I can think of one specific example with you, but where you're like, thank God the athlete didn't land that trick because I totally fucked up my focus, or I totally fucked up the gimbal.
What's the specific example? Can you share it?
You can share it. We talked. Oh
yeah. This one was Tori and I worked on a project for Adidas with Luke Whitlock, up and coming like rampage destined free ride kid out of Utah. Rad human. Reno, Nevada. No, he's Nevada, isn't he? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyway, that doesn't matter. But good kid, rad kid, and he had this so he was doing a cash roll off this double and
front flip 360 for those who don't know what a cash roll is.
A front flip 360
or something like that.
I think backflip 360. It's like 180 backflip 180 is kind of what they are.
It's weird because you're like, when you're doing the backflip, you're backwards.
Yeah, so you like 180,
but you like go
and then
like
you backflip
diagonally off the.
And then
it's
you
a
like
weird. I don't even know if
it's
I can.
It's basically like
it.
a flare to a 180.
Yeah, that's
so
a better way.
Yeah, they're very odd looking. If you've never seen a cash roll, Google
look it up.
cash roll because it's
it's
bizarre.
You can just watch No Surrender.
Yeah,
the Luke Whitlock.
Dude,
shameless plug.
Shameless plug, but yeah, that was a good one. So we did this project, and again, like Luke's hustling, and he's getting this like. I mean, how many people do this
like
trick?
One other person, maybe two other people do this trick on this big of a bike.
Yeah, and so he's doing it, and maybe it took him maybe 10 or 12 times. Do you think that's fair?
Yeah.
Something like that. But halfway through, both of us at different times, just like, thank God he didn't get that, because I think yours was a gimbal thing coming up. I did something like I pulled focus on the wrong thing or something like that. But yeah, those times are nice when the athlete doesn't get it, as long as they don't get hurt. As long as they don't get hurt.
But see, that's like those little failures, though. It's like they're gonna happen. And like I had been running the same camera movement like 5 times before that, and still messed it up. You know, it just you might trip on a little tiny bush. Like it's just your camera might run out of battery.
Well, and I love that you're talking about failure right now, because the episode that came out right before this episode's going to come out is about failure.
Oh, there you go.
And embracing and
normal,
accepting failure. Yeah,
it's totally cool.
And like it's hard for a lot of people to understand that that's a normal thing, especially when you become a professional in your field or your craft, like to understand that you still are going to see failure. Even like you said, you did the same camera movement 5 times.
Yeah.
And you still messed it up.
Oh, totally. And like people put these athletes and these like top level filmers on a pedestal, and I'm not saying myself, I think of like the people I look up to that way, but man, they're the same. I mean, everybody's human, everybody literally goes through the exact same things, but it's just at a much more publicized level that has a little bit more stress behind it, I would say, but it's all the same. It's everybody goes through it. So
heck yeah, I love that, dude. So we're talking about failure. What do you think one of your biggest sacrifices to date is?
Biggest sacrifices, probably. So I guess right out of school, right out of like college, I took a job at an ad agency because I thought that that's what I wanted to do for a little bit. And this is after like I'd done my Spain trip and I'd done a lot of my biggest video projects, and it was just like the like donut on the stick right in front of me. I was just like, oh, it's right there and it's easy, and like it came to me. I didn't have to like apply or anything. So I was like, maybe I'll like see if I do want to do the advertising thing. And I think just that whole thing was a big no-no, big sacrifice. And because I was really torn if I wanted to film or not, because it was profitable, but not to the state that like working at an ad agency was at the time. So I was like, okay, I think I'm just gonna like hang up the camera for a bit and like try to make this happen. And I regret every minute of that. I did it for like 3 months, and at the same time, though, it was like kind of a little bit of a sacrifice when I quit and went back to the camera, because I was like, okay, well now I just gave up like having a paycheck to like actually go try to like make this happen. And I'm thankful that like I've made it even this far, honestly. But I think just it's always those like, it's always money, man. Why does it always have to be? That's like always the issue, right?
In those 3 months, do you think like, did you look at those 3 months as something that like built that fire, stoked the fire back more for filming?
Yeah.
You're like, okay, let me try this and we'll see.
Totally. Because I took off my like PTO that I had or whatever to go to Crankworks for Pink Bike. That was like one of my bucket list things. I really wanted to go to Crankworks, and I had the opportunity to go shoot it. So I like told them I was gonna like leave for a week or two, and that's kind of what started me thinking like maybe I should just like get back out of this and like focus back on filming again and see if I can make it like actually happen, you know?
Yeah.
Was it hard to make the sacrifice of leaving that ad agency job after you went to school for that?
Yes, totally. Because that's what makes me think like, why did I go to school?
Yeah.
And I think that that's another okay thing to feel. And I think that's pretty much what
Yeah.
everybody that goes to college feels is it's like, it's okay to like not, my degree's in the closet, dude.
Yeah.
It's not even displayed anywhere. Couldn't tell you where.
Yeah,
It's
I don't
almost
know what
like
mine is.
an identity crisis at that point,
Yeah.
though, right? When you're face to face with it, where you're like, I'm living what I should be doing per my degree.
Yes.
And now I'm going to step away and be like, go do what I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
But is it going to make me money?
Exactly. But I don't think you should let like your past choices dictate your current self too. I think you got to just like go with what feels right. And I'm not saying I don't use my advertising degree. I think I've met a ton of people that have like helped me out a lot and I've learned a lot. I just don't specifically say like, yeah, I work for an ad agency or something, which is fine. I think that's totally normal.
Wise words, man.
Yeah.
I love that. So you're several years into, your filming career and doing all the amazing things that you're doing. Have you had the opportunity to take anybody else under your wing and mentor them?
Oh, I take any opportunity I can to like teach people. I love teaching people. I think it's like the most rewarding thing for me. Even if it's as small as like someone reaching out, like I think you mentioned this too, like it's so cool when people reach out like on social and just like ask questions, but they're like worried to like hit people up. It's like, people are always stoked to like, if you're too egotistical to tell people your secrets and like give them just like any insight into the industry, I think that you're done already. Like you checked out. Like why are you doing it? Like if you're not willing to like share why you do it and like what makes you stoked and like, I'll tell you what camera I use. Heck yeah. Like go buy one, go make something that, will make you happy. Like that's sweet.
I love that, dude.
And we talk about it with regards to it's such a beautiful thing to open up and tell each other like, hey, this is what I would charge if I was you doing this project, because I'll get that over the DMs like, yo, I just this company approached me, they want to buy this picture of this athlete or whatever. I'm like, well, if it's for this, we charge about this. If it's for that, and it just keeps us even just down to the money side of things all on the same page. But then anytime that somebody's like, I get hit up quite a bit, like I'm so fortunate. I'm so grateful for everybody that does this. But they're like, yo, your studio looks sick, bro. Can I come help out? And in my mind, like, how do you deal with that? Like when somebody's just like, dude, I'll come carry your bags for you. What do you think?
That happens more than you would think. Like a lot of people will hit you up just wanting to like see kind of what goes on. And I've only like had the opportunity to actually make that happen a couple times because it's just like, that's so much more planning. You got to think like, and honestly, I hate the idea of someone coming to like work for me. I hate that. I don't ever want them to think that I'm like the guy.
That's what I was,
I'd rather like you bring your camera and you like get a second angle
work
and like help
out.
Like I never want it to seem like someone's like the pack mule or like, but I wish I could get more people to come do that stuff. But any chance I do where I can like, if someone like local is around or something that can come help, I'm always like, dude, just like come hang out and like just like see what's going on and like maybe you'll learn something, maybe you'll hate it. I don't know, but you'll learn.
Well, I love that you're so open to that because, like you said, the people who are the ones who turn those people away, it's like what we're all seeking, right, is community.
Exactly.
And you only achieve community by like pouring back into kind of where you came from and like the ability to do that, like. Not only is it rewarding, but you're also like elevating and like almost creating competition for yourself because like that kid who is hitting you up, like he might be the next great kid.
Dude,
and like maybe he does work for you, or maybe he's the next like prodigy where you're like, oh wow, he did something that was insane. Like how do I one up that?
Well, and not just that, the way I look at it is if you're homies with that kid and try and help out or whatnot, sometimes they may be employing you.
Yeah.
And
dude,
that's
totally.
Like to me, that's one of the coolest things ever. I want to be hired by a kid that I've talked to.
I
as
love
they're
that,
coming
dude.
up.
That would be so
rad, right?
Yeah.
So talking about, you being in the position of being a mentor, who were some of those people for you coming up?
That like taught me what I know?
That took you under their wing.
Let me think. I mean, honestly, a lot of it was, I hate to say that it was self-taught, but I kind of just loved going in the woods and just like figuring stuff out. But it was a lot of just like learned behavior from people like Clay Porter and stuff. And I mean, like Cade Van Heel was a big one. Like he was one of the first like professional dudes I got to hang out with and like see how he does things. Trying to think who else, what other filmers.
Well, you guys see like you've got a pretty good like niche of your homies that you guys are pretty tight. Like you've mentioned Kaysen and stuff like that. Yeah.
Joey Schuessler's a big. I don't know how I forget Joey. He literally like pays my bills for me. Joey Schuessler does. The dude. Yeah. It was cool because I actually, when I first met him, it was like before either of us really were into filming. It was like right before he started. So I've seen him like go from never picking up a camera to being just like this god in like such a short amount. Like I was filming before Joey was, and like he's somehow crazy. Dude, he's so good.
Did you know him through bikes before you knew him through cameras?
Yeah, I think I met him at like a big mountain enduro. Wow. Like back when I was like just kind of starting to film. And I think I was like filming the race, and he was like, "Yeah, dude, I think I'm like going to like Chile soon to like make a video." And I'm like, "That's sick. Like can't wait to see." And then it's just like these amazing films, like just out of nowhere. That guy's good at everything.
He's so good. So talking about him going to Chile, where are some of the best places that you feel that you've gotten to go because of the camera? Like, what are your favorite places?
Yeah, honestly, I haven't gotten to travel like as much like across the world as I like kind of. That's like kind of one of my goals still is to get in the topo burps, man. That's one of my goals still. I'd love to travel more like into places I've never been. I mean, I go to Utah like every month, so I'm there like all the time. But I mean, getting to go to Crankworks, so like Vancouver's been a big one. Spain, obviously. I did get to do like a music tour with like a DJ in like 2019, and we got to go like to like I don't know, like 12 cities across the U.S. Like that was cool. Places I'd never go on my own, you know. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have like any big epic places. Like a lot of my stuff is done pretty locally.
Sure. Well, do you have any places that are like bucket list places that you'd love to like make a film in?
Oh, dude. Well, I was actually talking to James about this a little bit, but I think like Chernobyl is a crazy one.
Ooh,
I don't know if it would ever work.
If you go to Chernobyl, I'll come carry your bags.
That would be nuts.
Yeah.
I love those weird places. I love abandoned places. I love stuff like that. I'd love to go back to Europe and do more cycling stuff. I think that'd be sweet, or like climbing stuff, something like that. Yeah, I don't know. I liked just something weird. I love weird stuff.
I like that. For me, like when you talk about abandoned places, that like strikes a chord with me because I'm like so infatuated with urban decay. I think it's so fascinating.
It's
so like,
rad, isn't it?
Dude, the amount of abandoned videos that I watch, like looking for BMX spots, is like absolutely dumb. Like dude, always looking for that stuff.
Smart, actually.
That's really good thing.
So, yeah, dude, always looking for that. So like, I'm always like geeking on that kind of stuff because it is so unique and like, especially like. You know, you talk about you haven't like traveled abroad too much, but like America has so much of that stuff, like endless amounts of it. And like, especially like the Rust Belt here in the United States, like there's so much cool stuff to like go see. And like, it is hard, like thinking about traveling beyond that when you haven't even been there to like go make magic happen there. Totally. You know, it's hard to like think about that. So, so as we move into wrapping this up, are there any projects on the horizon that you're excited about that you'd like to talk about?
Well, nothing like too specific beyond, well, James and I just went to Idaho this past Monday. It was just a few days ago. Mm-hmm. And we went to go see one of our good friends' films, Braden Bringhurst, called 8,600 Feet. He climbed the whole Enchilada mountain bike trail in one day. And
unreal, by the way.
Such a crazy, superhuman thing that, oh my God, like I don't even know what made him want to do that, right?
Writing down that is a task sometimes. So
seriously, it's like a whole event to go ride down. It's brutal, but wanting to go up, it's just like, that's like the dumbest idea I've ever heard. But if there's anyone to do it, it's Braden's just like such an incredible athlete and human and everything. And we went to that premiere and I left feeling so inspired, man. Like the one goal that I've had kind of never really changed is that I want to make my own film. And like I've made lots of short films and like, you know, whatever, but I want to make something that like I grew up watching. Like I want to make like a 45+ minute film. And so, I went and watched that, just saw like that sense of community. Everybody was there experiencing the same thing. They're cheering, clapping, like in the middle of the film, experiencing the sadness, the stress, the like moment of climax, like all this stuff. It's so cool to like be there and like just see that happen. And that all these people like came together for this, and like Braden sold out like a 700 person theater in Idaho,
dude.
and he's like scared to go up and talk to people, and he's like, I just hope they like it. I'm like, dude,
there's
they're
700
here
people
to
here,
see
bro.
you. Like, this is about.
Oh my gosh! And he genuinely was just stressed out. Like, we stayed at his house, and he's just pacing around. Like, he gets up Monday morning. I keep thinking it was a Saturday, but Monday morning,
Just like
and he
sick
just-
to his stomach.
yeah, and
I'm
he just
sure.
looks at us
Won't
too,
eat.
and he's
Yeah.
just like, "We got to go ride bikes. I got to go do something. I can't be around."
Oh, dude.
And it's like this is one of the most beautiful journeys. And then something about the film, and I think maybe we've talked a little bit since we got back, but it's not just the riding up the whole enchilada. It's what goes into it. It's the preparation, it's the mental, it's the physical preparation. But then it also talks a lot about, like, with the mental preparation, everything that comes along with the mental side of what we do, whether he's climbing up this gnarly, epic route, or like going out there and filming it and stressing about that kind of stuff. It talks about like the anxiety. It talks about depression, like just everything about the men. Oh, it's
so real.
Such a real thing.
Like, that's what's cool is, like, I think people see like the topic of this and they're like, oh, it's just like gonna be him climbing up in like the gnarly lines, but it's like there's barely any riding in it.
There's like an exposed nerve, dude. You're like getting to feel exactly what that is.
Exactly.
Unreal.
And so that just really, like, the whole way back I was just like talking to James. I'm like, dude, I'm pumped up right now.
I
Like,
love that.
I'm
It was
telling some
rad.
clients I'm not doing their stuff, and I'm gonna put energy into making a film because
Just
God,
buzzing
dude.
buzzing on creating
Yeah.
something that's similar. Yeah.
And I don't want to like harp on this because I am one of Tori's biggest fans. Like, there's no joke about that. But
Same.
like, I see him today. You're one of your own biggest fans. I like that for you, buddy. But no, like today, first thing I see him is just like, yeah, dude, emailed that client, said, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to work with you, so I can work on my own
Sorry, guys.
stuff. And I'm like, dude, that's what it's about.
Dude,
It's like,
that's a sacrifice right there.
Yeah. I
Like-
mean, I think I've lost that for a bit though. You get so jaded by just being like, oh, cool. Well, this is like, I'm comfy. Like, I can like afford to save a little bit, but then you're just like, but everything I'm doing sucks. Like, I'm not getting anything from it. So I think, seeing Braden's film like on the big screen and just like seeing like 2 years of labor going into like something like this and just seeing everybody just enjoying it there in person is so fulfilling. And like, that was like my first, that's like, we were talking about goals, and I think it's weird in the creative world to set too many goals because it's just changing so much. But the one goal that I've had that has never changed is that I want to make a film. And I mean, as a filmmaker, it's like, duh, like that's, you have to, right? But so I think I'm kind of writing myself into stone here by saying it on a podcast, and maybe I'll hold myself accountable. But over the next year, I want to, like, write, direct, maybe have James help me produce an actual like full length sports film. Not going to be just in the bike world, but action sports.
I'm looking forward to seeing that materialize because like I see the passion that's coming off of you right now when you talk about it. Like, it's going to be good. So I can't wait to see it
and
materialize.
it was so rad. I was telling somebody about this today. Like, on the drive up, the two of us were kind of like, we weren't mopey. We were stoked to see each other and hang out, but it was 12 hours and we were like both going through like what we've been working on and our struggles here and there, and like, oh, well, I wish I was doing this. So it wasn't like we were mopey, but we were kind of got the mopey vibe. We spend one day with Braden. We go to his premiere, which I don't know if you even know, if you acknowledge this, but you filmed the actual of him riding that one day. That was Tori's part of this film.
Very small part in the grand scheme of things.
But you were still a part of it, and that's incredible.
Huge part, 22 miles and everything.
Isn't it funny like how you can be in that headspace of just being so bummed out because you're like stuck in the monotony of the day-to-day of your work, and then you go and hang out with somebody who like reignites that fire,
dude,
and you're just like,
that's all it takes, dude. You just got to see one person doing it and you're just like, I want to do it.
And I think that's why it's so important to surround ourselves with people who are not necessarily like-minded, but people who are sacrificing it and like going after what they're passionate about. Like, there's so much importance in doing that, dude. Like, that's so cool to hear. So we've talked about you having the Canon T7i, the Sony. What is your go-to rig now?
Well, I finally also achieved my goal of, well, I don't know if it's a goal or if it was just a bad financial decision. But in the mountain bike world, for some reason, it's only cool if you have a red. Unfortunately, that's the standard nowadays for mountain biking. So for whatever reason, I don't know where the money comes from, but I like saved up a bunch last year, and I did a ton of corporate work just to buy one, and I finally did it, and it's cool.
That's so sick.
It's fine. I was like, I probably could have done the same things with the different.
It's cool. It's fine.
It's I don't know.
I have the Ferrari of cameras, but it's cool. It's fun.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought that I would be like a lot more stoked because that was
Yeah.
like that's one of those goals too, where it's like it's when you get a red, you made it. But I think it's just the same thing where it's just like, well, I have this, but now I gotta like use it.
Yeah,
to
it's
make
just a tool at the end of the day, right? And
Yeah.
it's like the tool is only as good as you make it be, because like there's people who can pick up a super cheap camera and like make it look very great. Like not to say
Totally.
that the red isn't an amazing tool, right? But like it's the same thing as like if you get in a Ferrari and you don't know how to drive a car, well,
You're
it's
gonna
not
look
going to be
like an
that
idiot.
great. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So
yeah, and I don't want to just like have a red and shoot corporate stuff because
Yeah.
it's like, oh god, that's like a nightmare.
Yeah.
So
well, props to you for like actualizing a goal and like getting after it, dude.
thanks.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
that was a stressful one. That was a stressful
Oh, I
purchase,
bet,
but
dude.
so yeah, hopefully I can put it to some real use soon and make
I can't wait to
something
see as you
cool.
start
Yeah.
working on your own film.
yeah.
That's right.
So we've talked about all the cool things that you've done, all the cool experiences, all the hard work. If you could go back and give your 18-year-old self any piece of advice, what would it be?
Yeah, I'd say just go for it. Just don't think about anything. Don't even double like it sounds cheesy and cliche, but like follow your heart. But it's so true though. It's like if I had not wasted the time that I did, like just considering like what could happen, like just the possibilities of what might happen if I don't choose like the easy route, I think I would have been leaps and bounds ahead of where I am today even, I think there's just a lot of time like kicking rocks and I don't know, thinking I made the wrong choice. But I think just to anybody that's like wanting to do like what they want to do, you got to just do it. And everybody that asks me like how I did it or whatever, I'm just like, dude, just got to like try. And, like the more you try, the more you'll trust yourself. And then the more people will trust that you are good at what you do. And I don't know, it's a quick snowball. And yeah, I don't know.
That's amazing,
Yeah.
dude. Those are that's again very wise words from such a young dude. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
I think, well, James, of course.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
Well, just because he's been helping me get fired up lately, especially
Yeah.
on this trip. Like, no better person to have in the car to like just help me kind of get my head back on track. And I think it's nice just having those creatives that are experiencing the same struggles that you are, and then you can kind of work off each other and stuff. And yeah, I don't know, like my girlfriend Lexi for being super supportive and like just loving what I do for something. Like she's just so excited about it, which is super nice to have. Yeah, the fam always have my back.
Hell yeah.
And then yeah, Glenn, I hate you still.
Yeah.
You'll never.
Fuck you, Glenn.
You know
You'll
what you should
never get
do
on.
is if he's still a professor, you should just address a box of rocks to him with a note that says, go
Just
kick
him,
these.
kick him.
I'll just
From
send a
Tori.
link to this podcast. I'll
Yeah.
send just one email with like all of the epic things you've done. Like just links. No words, just links.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, dude. This was absolutely incredible.
Dude, thanks. Yeah, well, it probably was. That did go by fast, like
Yeah.
you said. Thanks for
Yeah.
having me. That was so fun.
This was super fun, man. And yeah, I'm excited to see what the future holds for you. I'm excited to see that
Thanks.
full-length film project come together.
Send you guys.
Yeah.
You'll be the first ones to get a sneak peek at it.
Ooh.
Well, you'll probably be there for a lot of it. So.
Yeah, well, we'll
I'm
figure
already
it all out.
I'm already jonesing, dude.
Yeah. It's a sick idea. Not to say anything else, but the idea alone is
I think it could be cool.
sick.
Hopefully, make people feel something. But
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Well, yeah, with that being said, thank you guys so much for listening. We seriously appreciate you being here and being a part of the Traction family. And hope you guys keep being scared of normal. We'll catch you on the next one. We're out.